One thing that's true for all moms, we have a lot of stories to tell. Some are silly, some are gross, some bring us to tears. With each story that's shared, another mom feels a little less alone. So join us as we laugh, learn, and grow together. It's the I'm Mom podcast. Welcome to this week's episode of the I'm Mom podcast. I'm Abby, and I'm with Chloe and Megan and Susan. And this week we're talking about burnout. Now, I have been writing content for I'm Mom for like 4.5 years. And in that time, I have either written or edited probably 25 articles that talk about moms being overwhelmed, tired, exhausted, depleted, burned out. There's new terms being coined like every other day describing these feelings that we're having. And here are a couple interesting facts. A survey conducted by Ohio State University found that 66% of working parents reported feeling burned out. And, quote, burnout in parents is the physical, emotional overexhaustion and that feeling of just, I need a break. And another fact, in 2019, the World Health Organization recognized burnout syndrome in its international classification of diseases. So burnout is a disease, but it says, and I thought this was interesting, burnout is a, quote, occupational phenomenon. And when I read that, I thought, I've always heard burnout coupled with someone's job. Like, well, I was a teacher for 30 years and I got burned out. Or I was he was a professional baseball player and he got burned out. We are not professionals. We can't quit our jobs. We are moms. So what do you do when you feel burned out as a mom? You cannot just change careers. These are your children. They are with you. And so that's what I want to talk about today is these things that we are believing about motherhood and about parenting that cause us to feel burned out or exhausted. So my first question for you guys is on a burnout scale of 1 to 10. And Susan, I know you're in a different stage of parenting. If you could think back to like the intense times, So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is like burning bright, full of energy, and 10 is like that marshmallow that you leave over the fire for too long and it bursts into flames and then it's like this charred thing, where do you guys fall right now on the burnout scale? Megan, you go first. Are you happy or are you
you caught me on
ball of marshmallow?
You caught me on a really bad week. So this week I'm at a 9, I would say. I have 2 sick kids at home because they can't, have childcare. And I've had a lot of shifts at work and a lot of new things going on. And so I'm a little overwhelmed on that front. And then I also just don't my poor kid didn't even have pajamas to go to bed in last night because I hadn't done the laundry. So I was working. And we have no groceries because I haven't made it to the grocery store. And, so it's just this week's it's just a lot going on. So I think I'm pretty burnt out. And I think too, when you have all that stress and stuff, like your marriage suffers and you're a lot shorter with your kids. And so then you feel bad because your behavior is bad and just kind of spiral. So this is not my best week this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like I've had not my best week a few weeks in a row, actually. This is not my best week.
So question, when we say burned out, do you remember when chronic fatigue was the thing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So is burned out like I'm having a bad day, like Megan said, or a bad week, or is burned out like months of this? Because I think I definitely had many times where I was just wanted to go get in bed or in the shower where nobody could come get me. But I don't ever remember having months or years of it. There was a time when my dad was really sick and I was kind of doing like both ends of, the kids and that and work. But I don't remember to the extent of like chronic fatigue was one day where you're medically burned out.
Well, if you find yourself saying, I just need a break over and over again every day, then I think that's a sign that you are burned out and something has to change.
So it's a little bit longer
I think so.
than just a few days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chloe, I know that you're a new mom and there's not the same demands on you as there are on Megan or me, but how do you think, from your perspective, burnout affects moms in different stages?
I think it's just I'm in such an adjustment period right now. I've been back at work for a month and a half. So getting adjusted there, but there's benefits to adjustment. There are parts of being back at work and having James in daycare that are really working for us. So I'm like, okay, I'm glad we made this adjustment. But then there's other adjustments like, on the nights he doesn't sleep well, learning to be a good employee when I'm tired and things like that. And also just new things all the time. Like we're going on our first trip next week and we're flying with James and I'm like trying to plan all that, trying to balance being a good friend and like being,
you're taking on so much newness that you just never had to do before.
Yeah. And it's not all bad though. So I think like if I was to scale myself, I'd probably say I'm like a 5. Like I don't,
You're more in a constant state of flux versus burned out.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think it depends on your personality too. Like Susan, if you're thinking back to when you were parenting kids that were between the ages of 5 and 15 or, in that range, you like to go and do. And I think you feed off of new things and being involved. For a mom who needs a little bit more downtime herself, that would be really hard. Like it's a lot easier for, I think, a mom to get burned out when she's trying to chase her kids as they do activities and keeping up with all the things,
Mm-hmm. For sure. I definitely have a higher energy level. I wouldn't have adopted 2 older kids if I didn't. So I think that's part of it too. How much are you taking on? Knowing, being realistic. I do have a friend who has a really low energy level. Her husband has a really high energy level, but they kind of adapted to hers. They just have 2 kids. So you do kind of have to. And she didn't volunteer for a lot of big things in the school, She just, so you got to know yourself.
Yeah. One thing that I read when I was researching for this episode that I wanted to get everyone's take on was the idea that moms are so exhausted and burned out because we have less choice regarding how we spend our time. So as a society, we protect and value men's time more than women's. And one writer said, you'd laugh if you imagine a carpool full of 30 dads instead of 30 moms, even though there are dads in Carline, but it's mostly moms because we're not used to wasting men's time. And women are taught to believe that our time is infinite and flexible. And that tricks us into believing myths like women are better multitaskers. Do you think there's truth to this? Does that make sense?
This literally happened to me yesterday. I got called out of a really important meeting that I needed to be in because I got to pick up my kid from school. And it's not my husband that goes and gets him. It's me. Even though we're both working full time. So, I mean, it's just the role that we take on.
Yeah.
It is the culture. And I will say, in our family, Mark is better about boundaries. He's just, no, I'm going to work out. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So he's just better at saying, I'm going to do this or do that. I put it on myself to be more flexible.
But is that because if you say, this is a hypothetical, this isn't really like your life, but if you said, no, I cannot come to school to pick up my kid or whatever, are you a bad mom?
Right.
He set boundaries because there's no expectation or no shame for him to set that boundary. For you to set that boundary, then you get a look of like, oh, well, you must not care.
I think it's shifting because I do know even here at our office, some of the guys pull I'm picking the kids up. I've got to pick up the kids.
Yeah.
Because they're a little more flexible or they work from home or whatever. So I do think it's shifting, but I think it was a parameter largely set by our culture. Men work more than women or their jobs are more important than ours. And then we kind of adopted it in our heads. Also, we are typically the more nurturing of the 2. So we were talking about doing something for Mother's Day for iMom, and the guys made a funny joke about the end. Chloe, correct me if I have this wrong, but we were going to do these snapshots of kids saying mom, like the hurt mom, the crying child, all the different ways they mama, mommy, mom. And the last one the guy said we should have one of the kids go, Dad. And then the dad show up and go, yeah, where's mom? So the kids do call us more.
Yeah.
We are the more nurturing one. They depend on us more. Did we create that or is that just the way it is? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm in such the early stages of motherhood that I just am the primary parent right now. And I just can't, like, I was feeling really overwhelmed yesterday with some stuff that was going on. And, Trent was like, let me know where I can help out. And I was kind of going through things. I was like, I don't think I can delegate any of these things to you. And I don't know if that's me being like, I can't or I really can't. Like, do I need to prep James's bottles before daycare? Could I delegate that? Probably, but I do it every single night.
So he could help.
And I put James to bed and like, just things like that. So there are things I can let go and I just don't.
Do we think we're better at it?
Yeah. Oh, for me, probably.
But it's true. But also it's true.
But it's not that hard of a job.
Yeah.
I have confidence in Trent.
There has been, I know that God is trying to talk to me because I have had a handful of either like I'm reading the book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer right now. And that one kind of like I had it in my queue, in my Libby queue, and it showed up. And I'm like, okay. And at the same time that I'm reading this book, the daily reflection that I was doing during Lent, it was like about rest. And then the Bible recap that some of us girls are doing, she just today talked about rest and how in his commandments, God, that's like one of the main ones is rest, rest, rest. Yeah. And no other like people that worshiped any other gods, those gods did not tell them to rest. Our Lord tells us to rest. Yeah. And so it's like, I can feel him. It's not like the gentle tap. He's shaking me. He's like, Abby, you need to rest. You need to stop rushing and hurrying. And I talked to my husband about it a little bit and he's like, well, can you please tell me what I can do to help you? Like, what can I take off your plate? What can you give to me? And I was like, I don't feel like, it's not even think. It's like, I don't feel like I can give you anything that I'm managing.
But that's what Mark always says about me not having boundaries, where he would clearly say, I feel like, oh no, I can't give up any of it.
Yeah.
And he said, that's a choice I make, which sometimes it's true.
Yeah.
Like, could Trent do the bottles?
Yeah.
Yes, he could. Give it to him now.
100%. Yeah.
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 What if so? And let me ask y'all this. And this is not my husband. Let me clarify that. He does help out with a lot. But I do have I know people whose husbands, they will not do it. They will flat out not do it. And they will be like, I'll try to give it to him and he won't do it. So like, what do you do then?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the fact that this is my problem is that my husband wants to help and I can't give him anything. Yeah. I mean, boo-hoo, Abby. But
well, in fairness to you, your husband is step parenting too. So that's equally hard to ask him to do things. Although different. He's all in.
Yeah, it's different
though. It is different.
To the women whose husbands are not stepping in, I think that's the difficult conversation you have to have with him and say, we're in this together. And maybe ask him why, if he doesn't want to help because when he does help, you micromanage or you tell him that it's not being done right.
Or if you're the single mom, and here's where I do think, probably kids of single parents are so much more independent and better because the mom has to say, look, you've got to pack your own lunch. You're 10 years old, you can do it. And here's your shelf in the refrigerator with your lunch stuff. And you can pick whatever you want from the shelf and pack your lunch every day.
Yep.
So some of it is, we do it to ourselves because we want to do things for kids. And apparently we could probably do a whole nother podcast on this, but apparently we do more for our boys than our girls.
Ooh.
I don't know. We all have boys, so it's hard to say.
I know. But it's a whole thing. Like even on Reels, I see funny things about like boys who are like still needy about their moms. The girls aren't.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, it's my two kids are so different that one of them, he could move out and have his own apartment tomorrow. The other one is just now learning how to like boil water. So it's different. So the title of this episode is The 5 Lies the Burned Out Mom Believes. And so I want to give you these 5 lies and you tell me what you think about them and if you're believing them. First one is you have to run on all cylinders all the time. You have to say yes. You have to accept every invitation. You have to tell if your kid says, Mom, I want to play baseball this season. You have to say yes. You have to go. You have to do. Do you believe that?
Do I believe it happens or do I believe it for me?
Do you believe it for you?
I would tend more towards yes, but my husband kept me in check.
That's good.
Yeah, I say yes to everything, which is probably a problem. But here's my thing. So like, I feel like I bust my butt as a mom. Like I work full time. I carry the load of everything at the house. I like take care of everything with the kids. And so for me to say no to social stuff, I'm such an extrovert, feels like a double whammy. Like it just feels like, okay, I'm working my butt off and I don't get to go do this fun stuff or just see people or do whatever. So to me, to say no to things that I don't have to, like social events, feels like punishment.
Mm-hmm.
And like the one thing I'm kind of looking forward to as a mom, if that makes sense.
Well, that wouldn't make you feel burned out then. If that is what gives you energy back, then that should help you, right?
Well, but it's also to, like volunteering to be class mom and like,
Which she's been every
volunteering
year.
to, or just saying like, yes, I want to be at every sports game, or
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else. Like, yes, we'll go to all these birthday parties, or then I have to get a gift for all those, and like make sure that it's just there's so many things that go along with saying yes to everything. But to your point, at the same time, it's like I don't want to say no to the fun things.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought Tampa was bad about everybody doing everything, but DC is in overdrive. I look at what they do, and they don't just throw a party up there. They get together with their friends and they have flowers on the table too.
Oh, nope. Come to my house. There will be.
It's a bunch of type A overachievers. I mean,
Yeah. Chloe, what do you think?
I struggled with that before I had James, but right now, no, I'm in my saying no era and
That's
I'm
awesome.
loving it.
Yeah. So another lie that we believe that makes us feel burned out is that our kids need our undivided attention. And by that, I mean, we don't want them to feel bored. We feel guilty about giving them screen time so that we can do something that we want to do. We have to constantly be parenting. We have to constantly be on.
This was a big thing for me to get over. And I know my son's small. Like, we don't do screen time yet. But like,
Really?
no,
I'm kidding.
But we
6
do.
months old.
Yeah. But we do we'll put like a little book in front of him. He has those little like chew and tear books. He loves them. But I really struggled with that. Even when he was like 3 or 4 weeks old, I was like, I have to be looking at him all the time, like blah, blah. And I don't know where I got that idea from. I don't know if I got it on social media or what, but he's okay, And it's funny, before he went to daycare, he really learned that I would be watching him all the time and he would cry if I would like not pay attention to him. And like now, because there's been a couple of times where he's had to come home from daycare, he plays so independently. He does so good because guess what? The teachers aren't going to his every whim and wish. It's been really good for him.
Yeah. So this next lie, I'm just going to say, I don't believe it at all. You have to make him a square meal every night. Like that makes me just laugh. No, I don't think our generation or any moms coming up believe that. That's something we're fine.
I do have a thought though on the last one really fast. I feel like I'm totally fine with my kids being bored and figuring out something to play with, but I have real guilt about not getting some sort of quality time with them every day because I do work all day. So that piece of it really hits.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like I have to do something intentional with them after I'm done working every day because I don't see them.
That's a good point.
The day I don't have that.
Well, and then you're not only like exerting yourself trying to do the thing, but you're also trying to think of the thing, or you're feeling guilty for not doing the thing.
Yeah.
So having 5 kids, all teenagers at one time, like they were so close in age because my 2 adopted kids are the same age as 2 of my biological
I know earlier
kids.
when I said like age 5 through 15, I was like, those are not her kids' ages.
I did feel guilty about that because it's like whack-a-mole. Who do you give attention? And I would literally pray when I went to bed at night, Lord, please just give me the eyes to see the kid that needs me most.
Yeah.
Because if you are a single mom or you have lots of kids and you do work, it's hard to give every child quality time
Even if you
every
have
day.
2 kids and one
Yes.
demands your attention and the other one is more quiet and sits back, he still needs you.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know?
This is where you just really trust God to give you the eyes to see what you need to see. And you have to have peace with that he's helping you.
Yeah.
You need help.
So the next lie we believe, which actually we're going to talk about in a future episode, is that you have to protect them from everything, and that this is making us feel burned out. It is emotionally draining to worry about everything. I think that's the one. This is the one that really gets me because intellectually, I know that it's okay for them to face hardships. I know that. I know they have to fail. I know they have to get hurt, but it is really, really hard to sit back and watch it happen.
This is another God thing for me because I have had kids and even adult kids go through really, really difficult things. And watching is so painful. Yes, you're up all night thinking, I just want it to go away. But you have to trust that every child has a journey into whatever calling God's going to bring them. And they're just learning the things they need to learn for whatever God's going to use them for in the future. So we look at it as so bad, like it's a bad thing, and it is. But at the same time, if this is what God has for them, How can we be their encourager, their cheerleader, and not let it so overwhelm us that we're almost making it worse? Because you sense in the house when everyone's overcome. And if the mom is overcome too, the child it'll be even harder. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The last lie that we believe is that we're not doing enough. I definitely fall for that one.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I do, because I think that we've become so used to multitasking that we're always trying to do two or more things, which
Yeah.
means we're not doing either of them or any of them well. And then we think, well, I have to try harder, because it's not that I'm trying to do too much. It's that I'm not trying hard enough, or I'm not good enough. And so I'm just going to keep on pushing and pushing. And it's just not true. We are doing enough. We're doing more than most of us physically are capable of doing, but we're just, maybe we're doing too much.
Yeah.
It's the opposite.
We
Of
kind of
not doing
crave,
enough.
I feel like sometimes like crave the feeling of not being burnout, but like crave the feeling of like, I've got a lot on my plate.
Yeah.
Like it makes me feel like I'm important or something.
Yeah.
Productivity feels good.
Yeah. But then it's like, I don't know, you can't do it all.
Yeah. So what do we do to put out the fire that's making us feel burnt out?
Ugh, my husband would make me sit down every year and talk about what I was going to commit to. And there were some years in there that he said I could not commit to anything without asking him first. And that sounds really bad. Like, what are you submitting to your husband, whatever? No, but he just had more self-discipline than me. And he made me think about
Yeah.
what I was doing and how it would impact our family.
It's
Mhm.
good.
One thing that I have taken away from this book that I'm reading is that a bubble bath is not going to solve this problem.
Yeah.
You can't, it's just not. Even like canceling something so that you have a
Yeah.
moment of free time, it's not going to do it. Getting outside is wonderful and beautiful, but it's not, an afternoon outside in fresh air is not going to solve this problem. And one thing he says is, if we want to actually stop hurrying and find rest, we have to live our lives like Jesus lived his life. And we say he's the way, the truth, the life. We're all about his truth, but are we about his way? Are we about living the way that he lived, which was intentionally? It was sitting with people, not rushing, giving time to conversation, just giving our attention to the moment that we're in. And I don't know how. I'm not to the part of the book where I find out how to do this yet, but I will share that with you
Update us.
when he informs me, because I'm like,
And-
please tell me.
How many people do we have the capacity to be intentional with?
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing is friends, family, what if you have a mother that's sick and you have to take care of her too? Do you have to tell your friends, sorry, I
Yeah.
can't right now?
Yeah.
Well, and that's where knowing your order of priorities
Yeah.
is important.
I had a moment like that because it was, like probably 2 months ago. I got invited to a birthday lunch or birthday dinner, sorry. And technically I could have made it. Like, it was on a Saturday. Trent could have watched James. And I was like, you know what? Not in this season. Bedtime is really important to me. I love that moment with James, like, especially because he doesn't really need to be like rocked anymore. It's like a 15-minute thing and then he's down for the night. And I was like, you know what? This is really important to me. So I have like a little note in my phone. And when something feels really valuable to me, like I want to protect it, I write it down, because that helps me understand things more of like, sorry, I know I'm going to have to say no to this because I'm going to miss this. And this is more important to me.
Yeah. Every yes is a no to something else, or every no is a yes to something else.
Yeah.
I think is good. We'd love to know how you deal with burnout. How do you know you're burnt out? Tell us on Instagram. We're imom.com with the dot spelled out. We would love to hear from you. And thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the iMom podcast. iMom is the motherhood program of the nonprofit organization Family First. Along with our fatherhood program, All Pro Dad, we exist to help you love your family well. Subscribe to our daily email, the iMom Minute, by going to imom.com/subscribe and get tons of great ideas, insight, and inspiration. The iMom podcast is hosted by me, Abby Watts, along with Susan Merrill, Megan Tigner, and Chloe Blumenthal.